Hi friends, my name is Mrs. Mertz and I'm your strings teacher. I wanted to take a couple minutes before we started our official lesson, and I wanted to talk to you about how to take care of your instrument, and I also wanted to talk to you about how to get your instrument out of the case. If you can practice these things this week, that will be really helpful for our next lesson so that we'll be able to get our instruments out of the case quickly and we can start playing right away. So please watch the videos and make sure that you're practicing it this week, and I'll see you at your next lesson. First, I want to talk about how to take care of your instrument. Our instruments are expensive and our instruments are very fragile. They're made of wood, so we have to take special care of them. There's a couple tips that I'm going to tell you that will help you take care of your instrument. The first thing is to always take it out of the car. You never want to leave your instrument in the car overnight or for a really long extended period of time. It's okay to leave your instrument if you're running into the mall really fast or maybe to go to the grocery store or something like that. But overnight or a long period of time, please take your instrument out of the car and put it in your house. The reason for that, friends, is that the car during the summer, it can get very hot, and then during the winter it can get very cold, and those temperature changes can be bad for the wood of your instrument. So always take it out of the car. The next thing I want to remind you of is when you're at home, with your instrument, find a home for your instrument. And what I mean by that is every time you come home from school, put your instrument in the same place. Maybe that's under your bed, maybe that's by your door, or find a home for your instrument so that when you need it, you always know where it is. When you are practicing at home, yes, you have to practice your instrument at home. When you're practicing, anytime you're finished, so you're done playing your instrument, put it back in the case and make sure you latch the case. That's really important. You don't ever want to just lay your instrument in the case and just shut it, because someone might grab it and it could flop open and could break. So anytime you're finished, don't put it on the couch, don't put it on the kitchen table, put it inside the case, latch the case, and put it in the home that you have created for your instrument. Next thing is never open your case on the bus. I know that you guys are excited, your friends are excited for you, and they might ask you on the bus, hey, can we open up your case? I want to see your instrument. Please don't do that. It's very dangerous. It could fall out of your hands. It could fall out of your friend's hands. Your bus might hit a little bump and it could bump and the instrument could fall. So never open it on the bus. Just tell your friend, I'm not allowed to open on the bus. Maybe you can see it another time. Okay? Please remember, instruments are expensive, so we want to take really good care of them. With that being said, friends, accidents do happen, and if an accident happens and your instrument accidentally gets broken, it's okay. We can fix it. Please tell me if your instrument gets broken, or please tell your parent or a teacher, and we will get it fixed for you. I can fix a lot of things. I've taken a couple classes, and so I know how to fix things, and if I can't fix it, we'll send it to the music store and we'll get it fixed. So take the best care of it that you can, but remember, if an accident happens, it's okay, and we'll get it fixed. Next, we're going to talk about how to open your cello case. Cello players, I always say one of the hardest things about learning how to play the instrument is learning how to get it in and out of the case, because it can be a little difficult. So this week, please practice getting it out of the case, working your end pin, which I'm going to show you how to do, and then putting it back into your case. If you can do that a couple times this week, it'll be really helpful for our next lesson. The cello. There is a front of the case and a back of the case. The best way to keep your cello when you're not using it is how I have it right now, on its side, okay? You can put it on the back like this, but when it's on its back, it's kind of wobbly. It's a little bigger, so someone could step on it. I always just say keep it on its side like this. It's just the best way to store it. Try your best to never have the front of the case, and you can tell the front of the case because that's where the strings are. Try to never have it resting on the front of the case like this. It's just not safe for the instrument. So either have it on its side like this or on the back. When you're getting out of the car, you're going to have your backpack and you're also going to have this really big cello, and it's hard to carry both. So I always say put your cello on your back like you would your backpack, and put your backpack on your front. So kind of put your arms through your backpack so it's backwards, and that will help your hands be free so that if you need to open a door, or if you would trip and fall, which you won't, but if you do, you could catch yourself. So you can there's backpack straps on your cello, so you can carry your cello on the back and then put your book bag on your front, and then your hands will be free. So that's an easy way to carry both your backpack and your cello. Now let's talk about getting your cello out of the case. Whenever you're getting your cello out of the case, always do it on the floor. You never want to do it on the chair or the couch. It's a big instrument, and the floor, you have a big space. So in class, at home, always get it out on the floor. When you get it out, you are going to make sure the bottom of the cello and the back of the case is flat, and then the top of the case is going to be facing up. So we're not going to open it this way, even though we store it like this. We're going to open it so it's flat on the bottom, okay? And the strings and everything will be on top. You're going to unzip your cello, and friends, all cello cases are a little bit different. This one's blue, yours might be black, it might be a hard case, it might be a soft case, so you have to figure out your cello. The best way I can describe this is like the covers of your bed. You know when you crawl in bed and you pull the covers up over you, and then in the morning you kind of fling the covers off of you. That's what you want to do with your cello. You're going to take that cover and try to open it up as much as you can. The best place to grab the cello is down here at the bottom. We call these the bouts. So when you're pulling your cello out of the case, you want to grab these lower bouts and very gently pull it out. So if you're pulling your cello out, just be careful that the pegs aren't getting stuck. And if they are, you might need to come up here and finish pulling it out up here. These are the pegs that I was talking about, okay? So you're gonna unzip your cello, grab it by the bottom, pull it out very carefully. When you get it out, the best way to hold your cello is right here by the neck. This is called the neck of the cello. Another good place is to grab it down here. So you can grab it by the neck and grab it by the bottom. That's probably the best way to hold it. If you need to hold it here, you can, okay? But usually the neck and then the bottom. And that way you can turn it if you need to, or set it up straight. Now, I see a lot of kids do this. Please don't ever do this. I call this the face of the instrument. Kind of think like your face. Please don't ever grab the cello by the face. And what that includes is this bridge right here, and the strings, and this long black thing that's called the fingerboard. I see a lot of kids either try to grab it by the face or they grab it by this fingerboard. And if you do that, you could actually break the fingerboard. It could become unglued, or you can knock the bridge loose. This bridge is not glued to your instrument, so if it gets knocked loose, I can fix it. But if you grab it, that could make it become knocked loose, okay? So don't ever grab it by the face. Don't ever grab it right here. I know that looks like a good handle, but don't do it. So the best place to grab it is by the neck or the lower bout, or both. Next, I want to talk about this thing down at the bottom called the end pin. Anytime you are not playing, you're walking down the hall, your instrument is in its case, anytime you're not playing, the end pin is going to be in. There is a screw on the end pin that's going to tighten it, and when it's tight, it will keep the end pin in, it won't come out. When you loosen it, that end pin, so I'm going to loosen it, that end pin can come in and out now. So anytime you're getting ready to play, you want to loosen the screw and pull the end pin out, and then you're going to tighten it again to make the end pin stay out. If you don't tighten it, it kind of flops back and forth. If you forget to tighten it and you put it back in the case, it's going to fall out, and when you're walking down the hall, it might jab you or something could happen. So just make sure when you're done playing, you push it back in, and you tighten it. So what I'd like to practice right now is loosening the end pin, pulling it out, putting it back in, and then tightening it. When you're doing this, I'm gonna push it back in. When you're doing this, the biggest thing I can tell you is that when you turn this screw, it's a little turn. You do not have to sit there and turn, turn, turn. If you're doing that, you're turning it too much. We're gonna say this together. Righty-tighty, say that with me. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Say that with me. Lefty-loosey. So we have righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. When you turn that screw to the right, it is going to tighten it. Righty-tighty. When you turn that screw to the left, it's going to loosen it. Lefty-loosey. So when you turn it to the right, it's gonna tighten. Turn it to the left, it's gonna loosen. And you're gonna do a half turn. You're not gonna unscrew, just a little turn. So try that right now. Just feel, as soon as you feel that kind of loosen, stop turning. Then go the other way and feel it tighten. So you're gonna go righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And just practice tightening and loosening it. Now I want you to loosen it, and I want you to pull the end pin out. Cool. Now push it back in and tighten it back up, okay? And you'll feel if you pull that end pin out, it's not gonna come out. So one more time, loosen it, just a half turn, pull it out, tighten it, make sure it's tight and it's not gonna go back in, then loosen it again, push it back in, and tighten it up. How do we know how far we want the end pin to come out? Okay, because it's different at different sizes. I always go like this with my hand. So I stretch my thumb and my pinky finger as far apart as they will go. I do that, and I kind of use that as my measure. So I loosen it, and you can pull it out, and then measure it and see. If you're here, I would pull it out a little bit more. If you're way, way, way far out, okay, you want it just your pinky here, right here, pull it back in a little bit, about that. That's kind of like a guess. We will talk about that more at your next lesson. So go ahead, put that end pin back in and tighten it back up. Okay, so that's your end pin. The last step, we're almost there, is how do you put your instrument back in the case? Just like it was kind of tricky taking the instrument out of the case, it can be a little tricky to put it back in. When you're putting your instrument back in the case, you want to remember to first just leave your instrument be. We'll put your case so that the bottom of the case is flat on the ground, and then the top of the case, remember that cover that we pulled off, is going to just kind of be open. One way to tell the top from the bottom is that the top of the case is always going to have a place where your bow goes. So it's always going to have a pocket, and that's where your bow is going to go. It might have another pocket with accessories in it. It might have a rock stop in it. It's kind of a round thing. Or rosin, you can leave that in there. We'll talk about that later. We will also talk about your bow later. That's how you tell that's the top of your case. So the top of the case has the bow and then all your accessories. So you want to open that up. When we put our instrument in the case, we start with the top of the instrument instead of the bottom. When we pulled it out, we started down here. When we put it back in, we're going to start with the top, and we call this the scroll. So you want to lay your instrument flat. You want to put it in the little pocket at the top. Put it in the pocket up here. You put that in first, make sure it's in there, and then the rest will easily rest. If you don't put that top part in first, it might not fit. Then you're gonna close the case or pull your covers back over. Make sure it's kind of covered, and then you're gonna zip it back up. And then you are done. So please practice it this week. If you practice it a couple times, it will get a lot easier to take out of the case and put back in, so that at the next lesson, we can all take them out, we can pull our end pins out, and we can start plucking the strings and start playing. So I know that was a lot of information. Thanks for listening. And now you can go home and you can practice taking your instrument in and out of the case. The last thing that I want to talk about is orchestra. During school, while you are in school, you will be taking lessons. What that means is that you're learning how to play your instrument. You're learning where to put your fingers, you're learning where to put the bow, you're learning how to play your instrument. In lessons, you will be with other instruments that are like yours. So violins, you will be with other violins or maybe violas, and violas, you'll be with other violas or violins. Cellos, you will most likely be in a group by yourself with other cellos. So you'll be with instruments that are like your instrument in lessons. Lessons are during the school day, and every week your lesson time will change. So it's really important that in the morning, when you drop off your instrument, you check your lesson time because it won't be the same as last week's lesson time. So in the morning, you drop off your instrument and then you'll check the music calendar to see what time your lesson is for that day. Lessons will occur every cycle day. So if your lesson is on day 2, you'll have a lesson every day 2. In January, we will also start orchestra. Orchestra is to prepare for the concert. So in orchestra, we meet as one big group. So all the violins, all the violas, all the cellos will meet at the same time. We'll meet together and we'll practice our orchestra music. We've already learned in the lessons how to play our instrument. So in orchestra, we're practicing for our concert. So in January, we'll start orchestra rehearsals. They meet before school at 7:55, and they meet on the same day that you have lessons. So you will have orchestra rehearsal before school in addition to your lessons during school. So on those days, you'll actually have 2 chances to play your instrument. You'll play it in the morning as a big group, and then we'll play it in lessons as well. So we have lessons, which meets during school, and orchestra, which for you guys will start in January, and that will meet before school. The last thing is our special name that we have for orchestra. It's called Prelude Orchestra. And if you can, jot that name down somewhere. Prelude means at the beginning. And since you are all beginners this year, you will be in Prelude Orchestra, which once again will start in January. You'll be receiving a music calendar if you haven't already, and on the music calendar you might see something called Encore Orchestra. If you think of that word encore, it means again. If you've ever been to a performance and people are clapping, they say encore, encore. That means again. And members of Encore Orchestra are usually 4th graders that played in 3rd grade, so they're playing again. They're playing for a 2nd year. Encore Orchestra might also include some students in 3rd grade that have taken private lessons outside of school and that know how to play the instrument, so they might also be an Encore Orchestra. If you see that on the calendar, you don't have to come to that. That's just for students that are playing for a 2nd year or that have played their instrument before. So we have Prelude Orchestra, which is for beginners, which starts in January, and Encore Orchestra, which is for 2nd year students or students that have been playing their instrument for a 2nd year, which will start right away. I hope that helps you understand lessons and orchestra. I hope that these tips have been helpful. Please practice getting your instrument out of the case and putting it back in so that our next lesson, we can get them out quickly and efficiently and we can start plucking and playing our instruments. I'm so excited for you guys to get started, and I'll see you at your next lesson.